I recently got a phone call from a local farmer asking me if I would come down and try and discourage the crows from stealing the meal out of his meal house. Now, I've shot in this farm before in the past and I usually used one of the wee pop-up hides, but the last time I was here I used the van and shot from the side door using a black weed barrier to help cover the door and stop the birds from seeing me inside the van, and it seemed to work quite well, so I decided to use the same technique today. As you can see, this time I'm just sitting on a soft cushion on the floor of the van and using a small tripod with a Y yoke on the top of it to help rest the rifle on. The van's quite dark inside, so I didn't bother putting any gloves on or a face veil this time. And you'll notice I haven't any camouflage clothes on, probably cause I find somebody walking around a farmyard dressed head to toe in realtree actually stands out more than somebody walking about in an old pair of waders and a boiler suit. That's because the birds are quite used to seeing people walking about the yard all the time, and for that reason they were quite quick at coming back to the meal house once I got into the van. My first target was a young rook sitting at the edge of the roof. Now, the last time I was here I had problems with birds falling back onto the roof and getting stuck up there. So this time I waited till he was right at the edge of the tin and went for a headshot, hoping that he would drop off the roof cleanly. And thankfully he did. Now this is where the rest of the birds went absolutely mad. A little more than usual for some reason, and when I looked down on the ground I realised why. One of the farm cats had jumped straight on top of the bird as soon as it hit the ground, which set the rest of them absolutely crazy. During the ruckus, some of the birds had started landing up on the top edge of the roof again. They were a wee bit skittish, but thankfully one or two lingered on a wee bit too long for their own well-being. And I managed to put another one in the bag, a jackdaw this time. There was a decent sized flock floating about, but the farmers seemed to think that there wasn't as many there as what there usually is. But still, they'll have to be taking a serious amount of meal. The cats didn't seem that interested in the birds. I thought they would have made a meal of it, but unfortunately they seem to be more interested in staring me down. The birds seemed to settle down after a while, and I noticed a magpie on the silage bales to my right, about 25 yards away. I managed to take him with a nice headshot. The jackdaws seemed to have settled into a beech tree in the distance. It actually might be somewhere worthwhile looking at, ambushing them another time. So I dandered out and picked up what I'd shot, because the dead birds lying were starting to put the others off coming back again. And sure enough, once back in the van, it wasn't too long to get another opportunity. This magpie was almost 35 yards away. Again, once the rest of the jackdaws spotted it lying, it put them off landing again, and they just wanted to circle around overhead, scrawling loudly. So I went out and lifted it as it was lying on top of the cube in the background there. another young rook landed on the top edge of the shed again. I got the rifle on him. Went for the headshot again and totally missed. Oh well, you can't get them all. After that, things went quite quiet at my end of the yard, but I noticed in a shed on the far side of the yard that the birds had found another food source. There was a pile of meal in there to feed some beef cattle, and they obviously have found it was a good bit more safer feeding there than it was where I had set up. So I decided to make a move. This time though, I decided to fit the little ATN shot track camera to the top of the rifle. It's quite quick and easy to fit with the way I have it set up, and it'll be a lot easier and quicker to use this on the go than dragging a larger camera and a tripod around with me. So from now on you'll probably just see the kill shots and no extra footage of me prancing around aiming the rifle. I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that. Oh, and of course the little Dutch bag, which is very useful for leaning the rifle onto rough walls and gates and around a farmyard without it getting scratched up. My first opportunity was from a overhead gantry above the milking parlour at a jackdaw here about 50 yards away, and I went for a heart and lung shot there and knocked it over clean. Not 20 yards away from me there was plenty of other birds feeding away in the feed ride, but there's that many cattle about, I didn't dare take a shot at that for fear of hitting something I shouldn't have. But I did edge further into the milking parlour and started to take one or two birds that landed in the doorway to the other shed that I had noticed.
Look, he's scurried, just moved.
And of course the odd miss. I was shooting at about 35 yards here. This bird thought he was safe hiding behind that clump of grass, but he just stuck his head up a wee bit too much. Wish I could drop them all just as cleanly as that one. Well, I gathered up as many birds as I could find. They weren't all retrieved. Whether the cats got to them before I did or poor marksmanship on my part, I don't know. But we managed to get a few, hopefully to keep the farmer happy for a while.